Good morning, everybody. On the occasion of World GNM Day, observed in the honor of birth anniversary of Rai Hammer, I feel privileged to present a case that beautifully reflects the core principles of Germanic healing knowledge. This presentation is for only educational purpose. Any health decisions should be taken with the proper medical consultation. Honoring the pioneers of holistic healing, Dr. Christian Frederick Samuel Hahnemann, who is father of homeopathy, more than a physician, a reformer who liberated medicine from harsh, unscientific practices and placed humanity on the path of gentle healing. And founder of German New Medicine, Dr. Hammer. He is an innovator who dared to look beyond the symptoms, proposing that emotional trauma and biological conflicts are the root causes of the disease. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Dr. V.S. Reddy sir, who is a homeopathic physician since 33 years, and Dr. C.J. Verghese sir, who is an also homeopathic physician and also GNM mentor, who have guided me in learning these beautiful concepts. Myself, Dr. Shouri Venkateshwarlu, and presently I am pursuing MD Pediatrics in homeopathy. My presentation is very interesting topic, trigeminal neuralgia. But this time, this is through German New Medicine. It is not just about a nerve disorder, but about how our life experiences and emotions may influence. Before we begin, let us understand the purpose of this presentation. Germanic healing knowledge explains that the disease begins with a sudden and emotional shock that is known as DHS, Dirk Hammer syndrome. The shock is always unexpected, intense, and emotionally isolated, which the brain is not mentally prepared before. It creates a connection between mind, brain, and body. Now, let us understand how this process works. The five biological laws of German New Medicine. I would like to give a small brief about the five biological laws. These laws explain the psyche, brain, and organ are interconnected, and every disease is a special biological program which has two phases. That is the conflict phase, which is known as the stress phase, and the healing phase, that is known as the repair phase. During the conflict phase, always the sympathetic nervous system is active, ready to be in a fight or flight mode. And the healing phase, which is known as the prolonged vagotonic phase, there is a lot of sleep and a good appetite, which is symbolizing the disease is being healed. What exactly happens when there is a DHS and the conflict occurs? When a sudden emotional conflict occurs, first there is an effect on mind, which is a specific area in the brain that is corresponding to the organ. During the sympathetic system is active, there is an increase in stress, and during the repair phase, there is a healing phase. Inflammation occurs and pain appears, which is indicating that is disease is being decreased. So we need to understand that pain is not always the damage, sometimes it is healing. Now let us understand which nerve is involved in this topic. Trigeminal nerve. Trigeminal nerve is the fifth cranial nerve and which is the largest cranial nerve, which is a mixed nerve. That means there are both sensory and motor fibers in this nerves. The three main branches of the trigeminal nerve, known as the triplets, are ophthalmic nerve, maxillary nerve, and also mandibular nerve. The main sensory function of the trigeminal nerve is to transfer the pain through touch, and the motor function of the trigeminal nerve is the chewing function, that is the mastication. It arises from the pons in the brainstem and supplies the entire face. So what is going to happen when this nerve is affected? The condition is known as trigeminal neuralgia. It is one of the most painful conditions. Patient feels like electric shock like pain, and it is a sudden and severe pain. It is always triggered by talking, eating, and also on touch. Conventionally, they say it is due to the nerve compression. But what is the complete explanation about this trigeminal neuralgia? Now, let me explain about the pathology behind the trigeminal neuralgia. There are four main processes undergoing in the trigeminal neuralgia, naming sodium channelopathies, voltage gated sodium channels, neurotransmitter imbalance and crosstalk, and mitochondrial dysfunction and oxidative stress, epileptic transmission or short circuiting. I'll tell you a detail about these things. Number one, sodium channel. These gates work during the responses. In trigeminal neuralgia, these particular channels become dysfunction and hyper-responsive. They may be too long for open and they may be too close. It means they trigger easily with the least stimulus to fire off the massive agonizing pain signal. And when coming to the neurotransmitter imbalances, brain's chemical messengers like glutamine, GABA, serotonin, these are serotonin is a happy hormone. They fall out of balance during the time of sadness, anger, etc. emotional things. Few chemicals which act as an excitatory chemical like glutamate, they are in the high amounts and keeps the nerve in the state of and other chemicals which are inhibitory chemicals like example GABA. It is a calming chemical in the stress times that makes you calm. With the lowering levels of GABA, it prevents the brain from stopping the pain once it starts. Next comes the third one, mitochondrial dysfunction and oxidative stress. What is known as mitochondria? It is a power plant. We generally name them as a powerhouses. Within the nerve cell, this damage begins to fail due to the chronic irritation and compression. This creates the oxidative stress, which chemically will damage the nerve fiber inside out. This makes the unstable and prone to the misfiring. The last comes the epileptic transmission. Like thunder, every nerve cell has a covering that is known as a myelin sheath. When there is a damage in the myelin sheath, the nerve sits bare without it is like without the protection or without a cloth. What happens during this condition? This causes the short circuit, a signal for the simple touch or like a breeze or a tooth brushing. This accidentally jumps onto the pain fiber next into the other. Your brain then interprets it like a touch as a severe electric shock. In German New Medicine perspective, this condition is linked to the emotional conflicts. And the conflicts are like injustice conflict, separation conflict, identity attack, self devaluation conflict. Pain is always occurs during the healing phase. To understand this better, let us see a real case which I have seen in our clinic. The patient whom I am about to explain is the superintendent of police from intelligence wing. He is an extremely honest officer, dedicated to his profession and cannot tolerate injustice in front of him. He is soft, caring and always helping others. But what happened is life took a sudden turn. Always in the homeopathic case taking, we need to understand the person as a child and also as an adult. In childhood, he was a peaceful person and also a studious, ambitious student. He wanted to become an MBBS doctor. He gave attempt for the examination but couldn't gain the seat. He failed to become a doctor, so he joined in the police department. But still, he is the best police officer and a genuine police officer. He is duty bounded and never did a corruption and against the corruption and illegal acts. He used to not tolerate injustice happening in front of him, and he never bends in front of the unlawful politicians or the higher persons. And he has a helping nature where whenever somebody is in the trouble or somebody is suffering and somebody comes to help, ask help in front of him, he never says no. He always helps others and never says no, even when the people misuses him. He continues helping. In this matter, his wife always alerts him to check whether the person is genuine or not. But he always ignored it. He says, when the person is in trouble, I need to help them. His inner core was always being a good and repeated person. When everything is going well, when did the symptoms appear? This is an injustice conflict, the self devaluation conflict. It was an identity attack. His reputation got damaged. He felt very much insulted and humiliated. There was a lot of suppressed anger and helplessness. In GNM terms, it was like an emotional slap on the face. His personality also played a very important role. Because of his helping nature, when he tried to do good for the other people, how could the other people blame him for not done things by him? And this made him put the continuous stress between the duty and also the self protection. I have explained about the trigeminal neuralgia, its anatomy, and also its pathology. Now we have known about the patient and he is suffering from the right-sided trigeminal neuralgia. You might have got the doubt that how does this emotional conflict affect the trigeminal neuralgia? You need to know about the biochemistry behind the trigeminal neuralgia. As soon as the SP sir got the information about that allegation which was wrong on him about the corruption, he went to the shock. And you well know that is a biological shock. That it was an unexpected shock in spite of his good behavior. What happens during the shock? The body instantly releases the cortisol in the higher levels with the release of hormones like adrenaline. The epinephrine and norepinephrine increasing in the blood like within the fraction of seconds after the shock to initiate the fight or flight response and increase the heart rate and blood pressure. This cortisol increase is to mobilize the glucose for energy to fight back against the allegation which he was bearing. Immediately, the vasopressin is released to help maintaining the blood pressure. Due to this humiliation and insults, there is an increase of cortisol due to the socially threatening situation, especially those involving the negative judgment or loss of the status or potent triggers for the cortisol's release. Immediately, what happens is the nearest and dearest people start accusing him, where the oxytocin levels drop down. The oxytocin are the bonding hormones. Why do oxytocin levels drop down? This bonding hormone is associated with the social withdrawal and pain of being socially defeated and excluded by the near and dearest ones. In next few days, due to the repeated sadness and depression, the serotonin levels will be getting down. This is the happiness hormone which he hasn't seen in those conflict days. Due to this insults and humiliation, dopamine levels drops. What happens when the dopamine level drops actually? There is a deficiency that leads to the anhedonia, which means lack of interest or lack of motivation, often seen in the depression. When the person get anger on the particular people who have did wrong allegation against him, there is a rush of adrenaline as an expression of anger. The body is still undergoing the physical reviving up, keeping the adrenaline levels elevated. With this, chronic stress by the brain causing the sustaining cortisol levels spike. Patient falls into the helplessness situation where the dopamine levels and the serotonin levels drops down are specifically linked to the feeling that he cannot cope up or deal with the stuff which is happening around them. This leads to passive giving up. In this particular situation, when the hormone levels shift as described in our previous conversation, they impact the five biological mechanisms. You need to know the internal chemistry which is happening while the shifting of these certain hormones. The high level of adrenaline and cortisol, which are coming from the shock and anger and suppression, increases the sensitivity of sodium channels. This lowers the firing threshold of your nerves, which makes your nerves more twitchy and less stimulation to send a pain signal to your brain. The glutamate amplification. Due to the high cortisol levels, there is an overabundance of the glutamate in the brain's primary excitatory chemical. This creates the excitotoxicity, keeping the pain sensing neurons on the state of high constant alert, which means that the brain of the person becomes hyper awareness of the internal discomfort. During this conflict state, GABA, like a natural breakers, impacts the natural calming system. Without these breakers, pain signals are allowed to race through the nervous system unchecked. This makes the pain feel more intense and harder to ignore. There is a great impact on the shift of chloride transporter. This creates the short circuits in your nerves. A sensation that should feel like a normal touch will be misinterpreted by the brain as a sharp and burning pain signal. How the hormone impact on the neuropeptide release. Negative emotional states trigger the release of neuropeptides, like example substance P. These chemicals cause the neurogenic inflammation around the nerves, like our trigeminal nerve shown in the skull. This physical swelling of the nerve tissue creates a feedback loop where the physical pain then causes more emotional distress. This is why Dr. Hammer called it as a special significant biological program. In German New Medicine perspective, this condition is linked to the emotional conflicts. And the conflicts are like injustice conflict, separation conflict, identity attack, self devaluation conflict. Pain is always occurs during the healing phase. To understand this better, let us see a real case which I have seen in our clinic. He already have the history of psoriasis long back, which is again the separation conflict. And now he developed the symptom of trigeminal neuralgia and hypertension. He had the sleeplessness nights and constant dwelling on the disagreeable thoughts. He went through a lot of grief and pain. He used to weep in the house. He hated the system where the unlawful and illegal acts are being done. According to German New Medicine, the symptoms appear during the healing phase. What exactly happens in the brain? In the cerebral hemisphere, the sensory cortex related to the face gets involved. During the healing phase, brain sends the repair signals, the nerve becomes sensitive and the inflammation occurs, which leads to the severe nerve pain. This is known as the repair process. How do we manage this? First of all, the patient even don't know why he have developed the trigeminal neuralgia. Here there is a beautiful conversation between us and the patient. We explained everything clearly, how the conflict have occurred and what changes his body has came through because of the brain and organ correlation under the influence of the psychological thoughts happened during that time. We let him express all the emotional damage that happened back then. We guided him to accept the situation and forgive the situation. And as his wife alerted him and gave advice to him, he must set the boundaries which are healthy and safe and don't put him in the difficult situation. He has to learn to say no. Along with this, we have given the homeopathic support. His personality traits influences the disease. The symptoms linked to the emotional shock, ailments, fright, long lasting, ailments, deception, grief, sorrow, case, worries, prolonged, anxiety, anticipation, relatives for his, and he is a nature lover. He loves plants so much. He was never into the richness or buying cars or buildings, etc. But his house is full of plants. So, with this consideration, we have given the carcinosin medicine, and after a long time, he had developed again the pain. He had mentioned a particular symptom during the driving. There is a aggravation of pain. So, the symptom is air aggravation during the bike driving. We gave spigelia, and the pain is being reduced. So, what do we learn from this case? This case shows that the disease may have a biological meaning. Trigeminal neuralgia is just not the neurological, it may reflect the emotional conflicts. Understanding this can improve healing. The body speaks what mind cannot express. I'm thankful to my family. And thank you for you all for your attention. I express my gratitude to my mentors, Dr. V.S. Reddy sir and Dr. Bharat Reddy, and my clinic world. Thank you.